Here's the story of a bunch of podcasts who were bringing Cubby content to the world. All of them did their own show. Unconnected, obsessive baseball nerds. It's the story of a bunch of Cubs fans who are consolidating all their shows. They're uniting, doing it together, so we all can grow. Cup of Cubby Blues combining with Sunranto, baseball rabbit hole and Cubs PS Plus. With Cubs Pod and breaks behind the ivy, they're all teaming up to be the Bleacher Bunch, the Bleacher Bunch. We love the Cubs, that's the way we became the Bleacher Bunch.
Whoo, all right. Welcome to the Bleacher Bunch on the Fans First Sports Network. This show is brought to you by all of our amazing Patreon supporters who support us at patreon.bleacherbunch.com, especially Blake Beard and Rogue Wave Creative, not to mention all the great podcasts in the Bleacher Bunch, Cubs PS Plus, Cup of Cubby Blue, Bricks Behind the Ivy, Baseball Rabbit Hole, Cubs Pod, and the Sunranto Show, and especially to our sponsors, In the Clutch Shirts and Matt Kammerer's Permanent Paintings. I'm Sarah Sanchez. I am not Danny Rocket. This is my first time hosting this show, even though I've been on it a bunch. So we're going to see how it goes. And anything random that happens is definitely my fault, but I think it'll be okay. I am joined by the one and only Michael Cotton to make sure that I don't forget anything. And we're already trying to figure out where everything is hidden. How is it going, Michael?
Oh, Sarah, you have made a huge mistake if you think that I'm going to help you remember anything. I'm not good at that hosting thing. That's
No, you're excellent at it. But I foolishly was like, yeah, I can totally host the show. And then I realized all the things that go into hosting this show. Danny does a ton of work each week, y'all, putting together a great outline, getting content together. He has all sorts of tricks and tips, and it's amazing. And
he also has plenty of ticks as well.
That was, yeah. But Danny is in Poland for the show that they are touring with Trapdoor Theater. So you have me and Michael today, and we've got a ton of news. All Cubs pitchers and catchers have reported. We've got updates and other things. We're going to ask you to hashtag Chance in the chat to win a Frank Chance postcard sent with a message of love and doom to your home. But I do have to say, one of the things that Michael and I have not yet figured out is exactly how the Chance thing works. So we're going to hope we figure it out in the next 90 minutes.
I have a workaround already, Sarah. While we were introing the show here a little bit, which actually I want to talk about in just a second. I found a wheel of names, random name generator.
Yes.
So I'm going to do it analog digitally somehow, if that makes any sense.
It does.
And then I'm
here for it.
Then I could do I can share my screen and share. You see that?
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, we've already got one. We've got Tom Cooper have hashtag Chance in the chat.
Okay, so I'm gonna write that in there. So if you don't make it in today, that might happen, but I'm going to stop the screen. That might happen. We're going to do our best. So, but guess what? Somebody new might win because maybe I'll just forget all the people who have already won.
We might forget a lot of things by the time the show is over, but thank you everyone who is joining us tonight. And we're just going to start at the top with there was Cubs news as pitchers and catchers are doing their thing down in Mesa. The Cubs will not be adding former Astros third baseman Alex Bregman to their roster. He signed a 3-year, $120 million deal with the Boston Red Sox. He'll be headed to Fenway. And before I get into the specifics of all of this deal, I want to share just really quickly what, and trust me, y'all, I understand what I'm about to do. But every now and again, even a broken Bob Nightingale is correct. This is how Bob Nightingale described the situation. The Cubs offered basically the same amount of money, but 4 years rather than 3. Alex Bregman in Boston has been absolutely a monster. He has a 375 batting average, 1240 OPS. He hit 269 in Houston with an 847 OPS. I mean, he's just going to pepper that monster all day long. And the Cubs in left field are looking at a 355-foot shot to the well, which would have been tough for Bregman towards the end of that contract. Looks like the Tigers actually offered the most years, but not the most AAV. And Bregman wants to be somewhere where he can be a star. Red Sox fans are rejoicing today. Cubs fans, how are we feeling about this one, Michael? How do you feel about Bregman going to Boston instead of to Chicago?
Oh, I'm excited about it. I never wanted Bregman, and it has nothing to do with Bregman. Nothing to do with Bregman. It has everything to do with Matt Shaw. Look, I just want to see the dang kids. That's it. I just want to see them play, because over and over and over, we keep hearing about this wonderful farm system we have and all these great prospects, and we have so many in the top 100 and all this stuff, and yet we never give them a chance. And that is on Jed Hoyer. He's bad at this. I'm sorry. He's bad at it. And people always like to come to his defense on a lot of these things. Look, he does find a few things on the free agent market or whatever, but I have never seen anyone love their farm system so much and then go out of their way in every possible scenario to put an old dude in front of a young player. I just don't understand that. And the worst thing about not getting Bregman is that it is possible that Matt Shaw will come up, do well, the Cubs will do well this year, and they will extend Jed Hoyer because he backed into having a good player on the team when he never wanted him in the first place.
Yeah, I hear you on the Jed Hoyer part of this. Great comment here from Rogue Wave Creative. You are absolutely right that Bregman has an opt-out after this season. Although I will note that fantasy baseball analyst and pitching guru extraordinaire Eno Saris over on Blue Sky, who you should definitely follow if you're not following him, said that he just can't imagine Bregman opting out of any years of this deal. $40 million AAV is a lot. It's going to be really hard for him to match that on the open market. And if it's true that he really cares about where he's playing and having that sort of huge fan base and support behind him, in addition to his role, I think that he can't do much better than Boston. The only other places that he could consider are like New York, LA, and those are lateral moves. Those are not necessarily improvements to my eye. There's certainly not better parks for him. I think that Bregman in Fenway is going to be a monster because he has that poolside power, and the monster is going to boost his stats considerably.
This is pretty interesting too, because I'm one of my innings in the baseball rabbit hole this season, which the first inning will be coming out in February. It will be coming out very soon. But one of the ones that I'm working on right now is about baseball stadiums and the different dimensions and stuff. And you maybe you didn't, I don't know. I grew up thinking Wrigley was a hitter's park, right? And the reason is that in the alleys, those are actually fairly short and easy to get out. But they are the longest outside of Coors Field. Coors Field is the only field with longer foul line distances. The Cubs are at 355 and 353. And wait. Yeah, and then I can't remember. I can't remember what I was trying to remember what Coors was, I think. But Coors does that because they are in the altitude and, balls fly. So they have a longer thing. It's just amazing to me. So prior to Coors, even though I always thought like, oh, this is a hitter's ballpark. I mean, I was kind of the knock on it back in the day. It is still one of the bigger ballparks when you're going right down the line.
It really is. And, that's a huge difference if you're talking about, I mean, we saw it with Isaac Paredes, who is now on the Astros, specifically because of the Crawford boxes over there. But I've got this one neat trick where I pull the ball and crank it into the corner. Did not play very well at Wrigley Field at all. And it's interesting, Michael. I think a lot of people think Wrigley is a hitter's park, mainly because they remember Wrigley when the wind is blowing out. And they just blank on Wrigley when the wind is blowing in. But last year, we saw what happens if the wind is blowing in for way too many of the Cubs home games. And it was an abysmal situation for those Cubs hitters. They talked about it a ton at CubsCon. So, I'm a little bummed that the Cubs were second again, but I honestly don't want them to go 3 years, $120 million for Alex Bregman if it means they can't extend Kyle Tucker. So I'm with you. Let the kids play. That is what Joey W. Wrigleyville Bum says as well. Let the kids play. And I think we're going to get to see what Matt Shaw has. And hopefully we don't have to worry about third base anymore after Matt Shaw makes his debut.
Yeah. Oh, and it's just so, it is so frustrating. It's like, what does Matt Shaw have to do to become the Cubs' third baseman, right? There's nobody there. Morel was there, and he should have been able to hold that position until Shaw came up, but they got rid of him in a terrible deal, by the way. Let's not forget, not only is Morel gone, but Biggie went with him, and so it's terrible. But and Paredes was so bad, the Cubs didn't even keep him for an entire season. He really was terrible in every aspect. It wasn't just the fact that he couldn't pull the ball out of the park. The ball that came to him when he was playing defense, he could not handle very well. Everybody complained about Morel's defense, and yet Paredes went out there in less games and had more errors. And it's just like, what's going on? Like all I heard about was Paredes is a third baseman. He's the defense, blah, 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 blah. But, hey, newsflash, Morel wasn't that bad at defense. Like those numbers that we look at when they tell you he's a negative 0.1 or something at defense. Great. 0.1 of what? I have no idea. Is that does he get 3 less inches going to one side or the other? That's what I always want to know. I always ask these people, I'm like, okay, so when you give me that number, I get that it is a number to compare, but when we don't know what they're comparing, it may not make that big of a difference. And I just felt like Morel played well enough over there that he could have just stayed there and been fine.
I am the foremost Christopher Morel defender, and we'll actually move to him next because there's some things that dovetail nicely on the script where we're going here. But I think he was a little bit overmatched at third base. The thing that is crazy about comparing Christopher Morel and Isaac Paredes, Morel's tools are so loud, you can just squint and see him tweaking a couple of things and becoming a superstar, right? Like he made plays that no other person who's played third base for the Cubs since before Chris Bryant made. There were incredible defensive plays that Christopher Morel made because he's twitchy and he's fast and he can get to a ball and jump really high and he knows where the ball is going. The arm is electric. He has one of the strongest arms in baseball. And it did feel like once or twice a week, he would make some boneheaded error where he would take a ball that Dansby should have fielded or go to the wrong base or just airmail something a la Sean Dunston. And that was difficult to watch. I do think, however, and let's talk about
I have to say that I disagree with that. I didn't see that nearly as much. It's just that when he did have a problem, he seemed to do it all in one game. Like he'd have 2 errors in a row, but then he'd be fine for another month. It's just when it happened, it was ugly. I just feel like people got a little too used to the idea that he was bad, especially when John Sciambi, who watches every game, sits up there and downplays everything he's doing, even when he was making good plays. So it's hard sometimes when you're remembering because you had these voices in our heads telling us he was always bad. but I don't really remember actually seeing it personally.
I hear you. I will say, I'm with you 100%. Paredes was worse defensively than Christopher Morel and worse offensively than Christopher Morel. And I'm very glad the Cubs were able to turn Isaac Paredes plus into Kyle Tucker. Hopefully they will extend him, but I'm furious that trade happened. And part of the reason I'm furious about it is actually in a piece that I'm going to butcher this last name, and I apologize for that. Kenneth Tepe, I'm not sure how you say the last name, Sports Illustrated wrote that Christopher Morel is projected to have the second biggest jump in production this year. And let's take a look at why. So what you're seeing here is the FanGraphs stats for Christopher Morel plus all of the projections. And I want you to like direct your eye to that BABIP number in 2024, because Christopher Morel was one of the least lucky hitters in baseball last season. That is a kid who has really good sprint speed. He's super fast. There's no reason that he should be rocking a BABIP, frankly, below 320, let alone below 250. And his BABIP last season was 233, which is indicative of him having a much, just like by sheer average, he's going to have better luck next year. The other thing that I think is super interesting here was not really in the piece as much, but I wrote about it both for FTN Fantasy and for Bleed Cubby Blue. Christopher Morel really did not do well at the Trop. Lots of hitters have had problems when they've gone to Tampa Bay and they have to play in the Trop because the batter's eye in that dome really make it hard for some players to see the ball. Christopher Morel doesn't have to play at the Trop next year because the roof is not repaired at the Trop. So
Right.
The Rays are playing all of their games at Steinbrenner Park, which is the Yankees' spring training facility. And they're going to front load the schedule really weird. So 47 of their first 59 games are at home. I think Christopher Morel is going to rake in a AAA park down in Florida where you can see the ball really well with those Tampa Bay coaches. I'm curious, Michael, what do you think about Christopher Morel's projection for 2025?
Look, projections are just that. They're projections. They do bug me a little bit because I get what they're looking at and stuff, but I don't know. I don't always that it's hard for me to on one hand bitch about them and then say, look at his projections. I personally, watching the kid, I saw every day. I saw a guy who season to season already improved so much, and that on the Cubs when he was there, there was a lot going on in his head because of that, because of the way that it seems like the Cubs want players to play versus letting them and I don't know. They say they treat everybody like an individual. It doesn't seem like it. It feels like they want everybody to kind of do the same thing. And I don't know that played to Morel's strengths exactly or what they were asking him to do. He was doing it, and I think it hurt other things that he had been good at. And then, of course, you get traded midseason. He's young. He's the one thing we did absolutely know about him. Lots of feelings, right? He was the happy guy in the clubhouse. He brought everybody up. He was the vibes guy. Well, when you're the vibes guy and then somebody says, we don't want you anymore, we're sending you somewhere else. And the vibes guy, you don't just show up in the middle of the party and you're like, I'm the vibes guy. Everybody look at that doesn't work. You got to figure out a lot of different stuff. And I think that was just a lot for him to work on and figure out in that moment. So it would absolutely not surprise me if he not blew up, but he's going to have a better year having a chance to, he gets to settle in, which he did, over the last half of the season. B, he gets an off season with this program, with the Rays, with what they want him to do. And the Rays are pretty good at that stuff. Where the Cubs do not seem to be able to bring up a young guy and get that guy into being a good ball player. The Rays seem to be the opposite of that. They get all their young guys to play well, and then they have to get rid of them.
Yeah, it's a really great point that you bring up about the Rays being a better player development organization than the Cubs are. One of the things that has been absolutely infuriating to watch for me as a Cubs fan is that the guys never hit their ceiling in Chicago, right? Like, even Wilson Contreras became a better hitter after he went to St. Louis. And that is a guy who always had a strong hit tool, a big bat, crazy power. But if you look at his strikeout rates, they got better when he got to St. Louis. The WRC plus last year was 140, which is far and away the best WRC plus of his career. Now, I think part of that was because he wasn't catching as much, which, maybe that's a thing the Cubs should have done too. Like, have Wilson Contreras play first base or have Wilson Contreras DH more. They could have done that and turned him into a 140 WRC plus Wilson Contreras in Chicago.
Or simply gone out and gotten a good backup that could play 1 to 2 days a week if needed, especially when Wilson was younger. I talked about this for years. Wilson was a young catcher. And after Ross and Montero left, he was all of a sudden, he was like the number one guy. And they never went out and found like the veteran that could help him develop the way that you would hope, right?
Absolutely.
Once he became the main guy, he was not just the main guy, he was the only guy. I mean, They had Caratini there, but Caratini was younger than him.
Well, and then they traded Caratini. They just threw him into the Yu Darvish deal for #reasons, which I will go to my grave thinking that was a silly thing to do. Victor Caratini is a catcher who can hit at an above average rate, and that doesn't grow on trees. But to go back to the player development thing, what we know about the Rays is that they develop players, right? Like Randy Arozarena was not the guy he was in Tampa Bay in St. Louis. He was a different player when he got to Tampa Bay. They unlocked something in him. It didn't happen right away. It happened over the course of some time. And I honestly, the second I saw the Paredes for Morel and Biggie deal, my heart sank. Not just because Morel was my favorite player on the 2024 Cubs, he was, but also because big tools, not really developed, going to a team that develops players. Oh, and also we are going to throw in a guy who throws 100, going to a team that develops pitching. Meanwhile, the Cubs are going to get this guy with one neat trick that doesn't play in their park. To this day, that's the worst trade I can possibly imagine.
And ultimately, we get to the end of the season and the Cubs go over the salary threshold by like $3 million. And guess who made $3 million?
Right.
Isaac Paredes. If he hadn't been there, there's a very real possibility that they stay under that salary cap threshold because they have Morel making so much less money.
So check out the piece. That's Kenneth TP of Sports Illustrated talking about Christopher Morel having one of the biggest jumps in production next season. Godspeed. I wish him well. I hope Amori Paz, my friend, go out and hit some home runs and make Jed Hoyer look bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we can hope at this point is to make Jed Hoyer look bad because the dude but here's the other thing. And I've heard you say this a million times, Sarah, talking about Matt Mervis. He was like hitting the ball very hard, doing the things, and just the BABIP wasn't there. And he got 99 at bats and he was gone. We never saw him again. And why? Because we had Hosmer and Mancini there, and
that
then
worked out so well.
what was amazing to me too was once they were gone, Mervis still never got a chance. Like he just never got a chance to come up. But so they didn't develop that talent, right? And that's the thing. It's like, and I always go back to this too. I don't know if you know this, but Nico Horner still needs about 150 more at bats at AAA before he's ready for the major leagues. I don't know if you know that, but that should tell you everything you need to know about how they value. They cannot value their own players. Like, that's what it feels like. They see who they have, and it feels like they just don't either know when to bring them up or they're too scared to bring them up. Carter Hawkins said one time they don't bring them up until they're like backed into a corner.
Yeah, that's just a bonkers thing to say. And you're absolutely right about Nico. You're right about Mervis too. They just, like I said, they don't develop the players that they have as well as they would like. I am gonna go back to this comment from Little Yumper. Because I do think that this is the one part of the Paredes for Morel trade that has some legs for me. Without trading for Paredes, you don't get Tucker. I think that's probably true, but I also think that there's no way they were playing like 15-dimensional chess and they're like, if we get Isaac Paredes, then next year Tucker will become available and we'll be able to get him. Like, I think it was a mistake and they just got a little bit lucky. Oh, and I see now in the chat that that was a joke. Probably because all of the bros in my Twitter mentions bring that up to me all the time, and I've just started ignoring them.
I like what Andy Wells says here. Jed does a good job of making himself look bad, and he really does. And the thing is, he thinks that we're not smart enough to understand what's happening. Like you just said, there is no 15-dimension chess. We know that he's getting lucky, and I said it with the Bregman. If he doesn't get Bregman, right? So now he's forced to bring up Shaw, who he seemed to want to keep down. Shaw comes up. Shaw could, if he's as good as everyone says, he could have a great year. He could be in Rookie of the Year, sort of like that's the sort of love people are giving Shaw, is that he could be, obviously, we're 2 months out from the season. There's no way at this moment, but a lot of people think he could be in that Rookie of the Year conversation. And if he is, he could single-handedly save Jed's job, that and Tucker. And then we have to deal with this crap for the next 5 years.
I know. I want the Cubs to win, and I also want Jed Hoyer to go away. Let's talk about Matt Shaw for 1 second. I had the privilege of being on the RotoWire show earlier today, and Matt Shaw came up because he is a hot name in fantasy baseball circles, as he deserves to be. The 3 stats that I think people need to be prepared for with Matt Shaw that I think are just incredible, and I honestly am just so excited about it. Last season, he spent like 2/3 of his season in AA, and then he spent like 1/3 of his season in AAA. In AA, he posted a WRC plus of 148, so he's 48% better at creating runs than the league average player. In AAA, it was a WRC plus of 142, so 42% better. That is already just like light years ahead of where you would expect a player to be, and I'm really excited to see it at Wrigley. But perhaps my favorite thing, across both those levels last season, he had 21 home runs and he stole 31 bases. So this is like a 20-20, 30-30 caliber player who also just tears the cover off the ball. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. It'll be amazing if they can find a spot for him in the lineup where those skills work well with the guys around him. That'll be amazing, And then, and then you got PCA, who we're assuming is going to get a lot of at bats, and the way that of course, now it's kind of up in the air because we have 8 million outfielders. But if PCA is up as I would expect him to be, he steals a ton of bases. Matt Shaw could be stealing a ton of bases. Nico probably doesn't steal as many this year as he has in the past, but he can still do it. Like, we can have a very quick run happy team.
Yeah, no, and the Cubs could put a lot of pressure on the competition by running more, unless they go a weird backup route on the Bregman.
Oh my God.
And I just need to know your take on this because the second it looked like the Cubs might get outbid on Bregman, the Justin Turner to Chicago rumors started. And look, don't get me wrong, I like Justin Turner. I think he's an excellent hitter. He certainly had one of those late career surges that people will be talking about for a long time. And also, I think he's 40. I swear to God, if the Cubs give like $7 million to Justin Turner for him to block Matt Shaw, I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh, I am yes, we agree 100%. Like, okay, if Turner is the backup third baseman and he is there to maybe give Shaw some pointers or something and to give him a break or emergency backup if Shaw were to get hurt or have to get sent down because he's struggling or something like that, I'm okay with Turner, right? But that's the single scenario in which I'm okay with it.
But then why did they sign John Birdie? And why is Gage Workman here? And why is Vidal Brujan here? And so a lot of these guys can't even be sent down, right? Like Gage Workman is a Rule 5 pickup, so the Cubs have to put him on the 26-man roster, or they have to send him back to, I think it was Cleveland that they picked him up from.
I think so, yeah.
John Birdie has no options. He's admittedly a utility man, a cut above the Vidal Brujan tier, but they are carrying so many guys on their roster right now who are the backup plan for Matt Shaw. And I'm just like, why don't we just see what Matt Shaw can do? You don't need 5 backup plans. The backup plan after the third backup plan should be James Triantos. And I really don't understand why this front office can't lean into their prospects rather than going off to see what they can do with it. Look, Vidal Brujan, I know, was a top tier prospect at one point in time. And at this point, I think we're like 1,500 at bats into his career, and he's bad, y'all. He can't hit. He can sort of field. He is fast, but he doesn't steal bases. It is like, what are we doing here?
He's fast like Madrigal is fast, right?
Yes.
Like Fred Flintstone running the bases, like sneaky speed. Because when you look at him, he's not going fast, but somehow he gets there.
Yeah. Yumper says you can sign Paul DeYoung, bring him back to Chicago. Don't give Jed any ideas because nobody loves backup, washed up utility man like Jed Hoyer. We already have Nicky Lopez on a minor league deal. Like, I don't even know what is going on there.
Yeah, it's so insane. Like you say, all these different guys, when you have the prospects, and that's the thing that has been bugging me about Cubs fandom for like the last 5-6 years is literally they just keep saying, well, Jed is building this farm system. He's building the farms. He's doing this. And it's like, I'm with you, but a prospect has never, or somebody who plays in Iowa has never scored a run in Chicago. That's not how that works. You have to actually play in Chicago in order to score runs there. And that's been the thing. It's like, great. I don't know if they're going to be any good because we all know it is a huge task to make that jump. But I also don't know if they'll be any good because Jed Hoyer is afraid of his own system. He will sit there and tell you how good it is and then never use it. And I've never understood that. And I still don't. And it's just a struggle in my head as to why this doesn't happen.
Oh, well, I mean, I think it's because he knows they don't develop players very well. And so he's scared to put it on the line. If you look at the players who have come up and really excelled and exceeded expectation, there are a handful. I mean, Wilson Contreras was one. He was not supposed to do that. He actually just defied all expectations and really wasn't supposed to be there. They left him unprotected in the Rule 5 draft. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. They got really lucky that they had one of the best offensive catchers in baseball just sitting in their minor league system. Justin Steele, I think, is a legitimate success story for the Chicago Cubs. He came back from Tommy John surgery, but that's a success story for the pitch lab. And the pitch lab was really, oh, goodness gracious. What is the name of the president of baseball operations in Boston, who used to be in charge of the Cubs, who used to be the director of pitching for the Cubs? I'm going to look this up in a second because I'm blanking on it. But if somebody in the comments knows, tell me. But that was a pitch lab success, right? Like when they started doing pitch lab stuff, that worked. And Justin Steele became a fundamentally different pitcher when John Lester saw what he had and suggested tweaks through David Ross. That's not a player development win. That is one of your former players saw a thing and called his buddy who was the manager.
Exactly.
And now you have an ace. Like that you didn't do that in your system. One of your former pitchers did that for you. And then Nico, who you mentioned, who I agree is a success story, but he barely spent any time in the minors at all. He's kind of like, this is Nico fully formed out of Stanford, right? Like
he was a double-A. The season was over, and he only came up because of injuries. And
right.
He just made it so that he could never go back, but they kept wanting to send him back. And yeah, it's an insane situation.
Craig Breslow is who I'm thinking of. He is the chief baseball officer for the Red Sox now, and used to run the pitch lab for the Cubs.
All these titles, chief baseball officer. You know, we have a baseball scientist.
I mean, of course we do. We also have like all sorts of wellness guys and stuff. It's fine. I'm fine with people having cool jobs.
It always makes me wonder, like, it's the titles that get me, because it's like, well, wait, what do you do? I'm like, oh yeah, that was a general manager used to do that, or yeah, that was a strength coach used to do that. But it's like now they have these like amazing titles. It's like they went into the I don't know, the job title generator.
I'm sure AI had something to do with that. AI did not have anything to do with our next news item here, which is interesting to me because, as we've talked about on this show before, the outfield situation in Chicago is pretty set at the moment, right? You've got Ian Happ in left. You've got Pete Crow Armstrong in center. You've got Kyle Tucker in right. Seiya Suzuki is your fourth outfielder / designated hitter. And then you have a problem because some of the Cubs' best prospects are corner outfield types who are about to need to be on the roster or let go, including Alexander Canario, who I think is out of options, if I remember correctly. And so we have a report here from the Chicago Sun-Times that Canario's been taking reps at first base. Interesting. What do you think of Canario as a first baseman?
Yeah, so I read this article by Maddie Lee over there at Sun-Times, and she points out that the Cubs don't have a backup first baseman. You have said this on Cup of Cubby Blue. I've heard it. Like, they don't have a backup first baseman. So somebody needs to take those innings during spring training. And that's what they're thinking. So it seems like they don't really look at him as a viable first base alternative for the actual regular season. But because they've put themselves in a situation where, wait a second, somebody in the minor leagues has to play that position, right? We don't have 4 teams in the minor leagues with no first baseman. Somebody can do it, but they're not going to. They're going to move Canario over there because he's out of options, and they have to try and figure something out with him.
So the backup first baseman used to be Patrick Wisdom, who will be playing in Korea. Matt Mervis, who was traded for Vidal Brujan for reasons I genuinely do not understand. I think that's another terrible trade, but I wish Matt Mervis the best. I hope he hits 30 home runs for the Marlins.
Yeah, great for Mervis because he wasn't the way that they were treating him. He wasn't going to get his shot. So
no, he clearly upset Jed and Carter at some point, and they were like never going to let him come up. So I'm glad they're letting some other team give him a look. But the next guy to my eye on the first base chart is Moises Ballesteros, who was a 5'8" catcher.
Which we haven't seen a 5'8" first baseman since 1973.
And listen, this is no shade. I am short, and Moises Ballesteros is going to become my favorite player instantly. If you were at CubsCon, you already know that when the prospects were up there doing their panel, they asked all of them which player in the Cubs organization had the biggest impact on them. And I was already all in on Moises Ballesteros. And then he said that the player who had influenced him the most was Wilson Contreras. And I let out a scream from the back. I was like, oh my God, it's fate. It is fate that Moises Ballesteros is going to be my dude. But he's not a first baseman, y'all. Like, you don't put your 5'8" right-handed catcher.
I mean, okay, so I spent many years out in the Denver area. Some of you have been watching Sunranto for a long or listening to Sunranto for a long time know that's where I was when I started. And so I got to watch firsthand this the Rockies organization, like one of the worst organizations in the history of all
The
time.
worst. No, the
Not
worst.
baseball, everything.
Yeah.
They're terrible at
badly
what
run.
they do. And they just kept bringing in random dudes who never played first as their first baseman. That was their whole thing. They were just like, oh, first base, you don't need any skill.
It's the one lesson they internalized from Moneyball.
Yeah, we'll just put whoever over there. And guess what happened? They had terrible first basemen for years and years and years. It was just ugly. It was terrible. And then now we have the Cubs where they don't care about either first or third because we spent a half a season with no actual first baseman and we didn't have a third baseman. And then when we traded to get a third baseman, we put him at first base. Like it was like, what is going? I'm like I'm in my living room watching the TV, and I'm just like, what is happening? I'm in bizarro world.
Well, a couple of thoughts here, and one comes from Bleacher Bunch Network contributor and our friend Mike Waller, the Cubs PS Plus podcast. He's pretty sure Canario played first base when he was rehabbing his injury back in late 2023. Good to know. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibility that he could do this. I've got another idea for you. There is a former Cubs first baseman, an exceptional Cubs first baseman, a legend at Wrigley Field, one of my favorite players of all time, who still needs a job. His name is Anthony Rizzo. And honestly, if we're going to throw like $3 to $7 million at a first baseman, and we need like some leadership in the clubhouse and all that, bring Rizzo home. What are we doing? Like, yes. Look, why would you not add Anthony Rizzo to this lineup?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, especially if you're bringing him in as a backup, maybe he decides he doesn't want to play as a backup, right? That's a possibility, but
doesn't seem like he has the option to start right now.
Right, exactly. But if he comes back as a backup, like I'm totally in on that. He's very good at the position. We saw Michael Busch started last year, and I'm sorry, he wasn't very good last year. We were calling him
up and down. He was up and down.
At the very beginning of the year, he was a bad defensive first baseman. And then I think he got sent down and he came back and then he started picking a lot of stuff up and he got by the end of the year, he was actually a pretty good first baseman. But that's the kind of guy who is on the upswing. He is learning, getting better. That could really benefit from a platinum glover's brain.
You know, the thing I remember about Anthony Rizzo when he went to the Yankees, because the Yankees were another one of those teams that had just not invested in first base at all. They had this whole slew of guys back and forth. And one of the things that kept happening is that their infielders kept making throwing errors a la Christopher Morel because they didn't have a first baseman to throw to. And when Rizzo got to New York, he told, I think it was Gio Urshela, who was like, oh, where do you want me to throw it? Da, da, da. And Rizzo was like, no. You throw it in my vicinity and you're fine. And that was true because he's Anthony Rizzo. He's a platinum glove first baseman. And the Yankees defense just shot up overall immediately just by having a guy there who could do the splits and go all over the place and do the thing. And I will never forget that and how instantly you could see it watching a Yankees game. And truly, if Rizzo does not have a job right now and he's just looking for like, where can I catch on? 1-year deal to come back to the north side of Chicago, mentor Michael Busch, be a presence in the clubhouse. Let's go. Like, I sign Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the whole Morel being bad at third base thing. Look,
he would have been better with Anthony Rizzo at first.
He absolutely would have. And Chris Bryant they talked all the time about how he was too big, he's too tall. And I will remind everyone, the entirety of 2015, Chris Bryant did not know where to throw the ball.
That's right.
He threw Anthony Rizzo into the runner almost every throw. Anthony Rizzo had to take that throw going towards home plate into the runner coming at him. And he made Chris Bryant, he didn't make him. He helped Chris Bryant win Rookie of the Year, right? Because if Chris Bryant doesn't have a good first baseman or somebody who just gets pissed because every damn throw is taking him into the runner, then he looks terrible on defense, and we trade him for Isaac Paredes. I mean, it's just somehow that's how that would work. Isaac Paredes would have been 12 and we still would have done it.
Well, thankfully we had Theo, not Jed, at that point in time. So that didn't happen because Theo was better at this than Jed is. But
we also had Joe Madden, and Joe Madden was very good at allowing players to be who they were and making that fit with the other players being who they were versus trying to make everybody the exact same.
Which is the opposite of the Hoyer regime. 100% could not agree more. One more news item before we do a quick break, and then we have a bunch of stuff to cover on the flip side. But we got news this week as Cubs camp broke that Shota Imanaga will start in Japan, one of the games in the Japan series. We do not know which one. Initially, it was reported that it would be Shota versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto in the opener, but counsel corrected that and said that he is not committing to who is starting the first game, but that Shota is obviously starting a game in Japan. And I just want to pull up this quote because it was actually pretty funny. Cubs manager Craig Counsell, this is from The Athletic, by the way. Cubs manager Craig Counsell said Sunday that Japanese left-hander Shota Imanaga is expected to start one of the club's first two games on March 18th or 19th. Quote, Shota's going to pitch in Japan. I think that's mandated, kind of. I don't think I have a choice, actually.
Oh, my God.
Obviously joking around, but I love this for Shota. I love this for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I love this for the Cubs and the Dodgers. What do you think about Shota pitching in Japan?
I think it's great that since they're playing in Japan, and I don't know, I've never been this guy that's like, oh, we need to keep our starting pitcher under wraps, like who it's going to be. Just call it. Why would you start the season and not have him be? Look, if you're in Chicago, sure, we just, we listen to whatever Craig wants to do and whoever he wants to start up there. Like, it doesn't matter. We're not in Chicago. We're in Japan. It's game one of the 2025 season, and it's not going to be easier the next day. Like, there's no game leading into it, right? So it's not like you can set it up. It's just like how they might want to do like you got a really fast pitcher, and then you've got like a stuffed pitcher, and it's two different looks. Well, when you haven't played yet, you can just start with the stuffed pitcher and then go to the fast. It doesn't freaking matter. It's Bill Murray in beat balls. It just doesn't matter. Like, and I hate when they just won't tell you something that everyone knows is a thing. And if he decides not to, and he puts him second game, I will again feel like I'm in Bizarro World.
Well, and it's honestly like, I understand a little bit of the gamesmanship because you want to respect Justin Steele, and like Justin Steele's been your ace and all this stuff. But like, Justin Steele is from Loosedale, Mississippi, and he has started a bunch of Cubs he's done the Cubs home opener bit already. Yeah. This is Shota in his home country. Why are we even trying to be cagey about this? The first game of the MLB baseball season should be Yamamoto versus Shota, and that's it, period, the end. I think that's what it's going to wind up being. I don't know why Council's being cagey about it either. I did think it was hysterical. Did you see the interview with Shota where he was asked if he was going to help his teammates acclimate to Japan and like show them around and stuff. And he was like, nope, they're on their own. They're going to know what it feels like to be me.
Oh, yes. That's awesome.
I think he was joking, but honestly, I think about that a lot. I think it would be really hard to be a person who doesn't necessarily know the city or the culture, and you're learning stuff. We'll have more about that later in the show for sure.
Right. We know. I mean, it's obviously a joke. We know that Shota he is a nice guy. Like outside of being a good ball player, everything that I've seen about him and his interaction, he just seems like a very nice and funny guy. And I don't know, like I wouldn't worry about that at all, but I could totally see him and Seiya. Like that would be actually really fun if him and Seiya just took him around and they talked in Japanese constantly and just didn't talk to all the rest of the players.
Yeah, that would be pretty ridiculous. I am not going to lie. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to see if I remember where all these commercials are. But first,
Okay,
I think we have some announcements, right?
No.
Wait.
No,
go, Michael, correct what I'm about to do wrong.
No, you're not going to do anything wrong. I just wanted to jump in real quick because I haven't gotten to say it in, I think, many months. This whole Japanese game starting the season, I hate it. I don't care. I do not care. This is garbage. And there's nothing about these games that I enjoy at all. Like they are going to be played at 5 a.m.
I could not disagree with this take more. Keep going.
Oh, trust me. I'm the only one at this take. But I hate this stuff. Look, if you want to go and start the season in Japan, fine. Start it on March 31st. This idea that we're going to go and play two games that actually mean something in the standings, and then they're going to come back and do spring training some more. This is the dumbest. It's idiotic. It's stupid. There's no point to this at all. And I hate it. I really it drives me insane that they do this at all. If you are going to do it, how about we do it at a time that people who want to watch the game could watch the game? I won't even see it because it's going to be on at 5 a.m. I won't see
Michael, are you aware of time zones?
Yes. And
the game is scheduled for the time in Japan.
I understand that, but they could schedule it at a different time so that the people who are watching, I don't know what the difference in the time zones are, but if you played it at like, I don't know what time it starts in Japan, but if it starts at like, say, I don't know, 8 o'clock in Japan, like what time is it starting in Japan? Do you know? I'm
don't,
saying
but
there are other hours
care.
in the day that you can play a game.
Okay, well, first of all, I have no idea what the exact time zone thing is. Somebody in the chat is probably looking this up right now. Tell us what time the games start in Japan. But this is such a American-centric take that I'm just like, okay, the point of these games, every game overseas, the Japan series, the Mexico series, we're going to play some games in Puerto Rico or the Dominican Republic, whatever they call it. We're going to play some games in London. We're going to all of these games. Hold on. I let you go. You let me go.
Okay.
The point of these games is to expand the base of people who like baseball and to show them a thing that they don't normally get to see in their country. And Japan has a rich baseball culture. We are going to get to see Ichiro inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. It's going to be one of my favorite things that has ever happened. And we have incredible Japanese baseball players in the United States. Two of the teams with the deepest rosters of Japanese stars are the Cubs and the Dodgers. I cannot imagine anyone having a problem with this. And let me say this. I don't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for anything except running the Chicago Marathon or like a flight that somebody booked for me because they hate me. I will be up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch the Japan series because I love baseball and it is my favorite thing. and I can get up early for 2 days to watch the start of the baseball season. The Japan series is good, y'all.
Okay. Now, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know how much Japan needs American baseball to make them like baseball. I feel like they got it. They've kind of got it under control. They like baseball. You just said it was the point of expanding the base. And
yes,
second,
which is why Japan is so strong. But continue.
And second, there will be some games that they play in Japan that I will like. When they play the Yoshimuri Giants, they are playing spring training games against Japanese teams. Spring training games against Japanese teams. I'm all for that. I love that. It's the start of the baseball season. This is what is bugging me. It's the Dodgers and the Cubs playing games that actually mean something in Japan 2 weeks before the season starts. That's what I hate. They could do that in Arizona. I would still hate it. The fact that they're playing actual regular season games 2 weeks before the regular season starts, this is what I hate. It happens to be in Japan, and that's why I hate the ones that are in Japan. If they did it anywhere else, I would hate that too. But I literally just said, if they want to do this, start it March 31st, the same as all the other games that will be the first games of the season.
That would be so much worse.
But if they want to go over and play Japanese teams as part of spring training, I love that idea. And I will try to watch those games, but the Dodgers and the Cubs doesn't do anything for me.
The reason they don't play that game on March 31st, like every other game, is because it takes a lot out of a human body to fly all the way around the world, play sports, and then fly back. Like, you would have a huge jet lag effect that would impact the entire season.
Look, don't talk to me like I'm a child. I know
I'm not talking to you like I'm a child.
I am making a point. They can't do that with a regular season game. So for me, my personal belief is that they shouldn't do that. If they want to send them to Japan to play Japanese teams as spring training games, if they want to play the Dodgers as spring training games, I'm okay for it. I don't like it being the regular season. Starting the regular season 2 weeks prior to the regular season is ridiculous.
We very much disagree, but I appreciate your rant.
No, and that's fine. I know that you're going to disagree with me. Most people do. That's why people love to hate me, because I'm always out here with these like odd like things. Everybody gets excited over this stuff, and I'm sitting over here all by myself just going, fuck playing the Dodgers in Japan. Like, just fucking don't do it. Like, just go play the Japanese teams, because I would rather see the Japanese teams than the Dodgers, because I'll get to see the Dodgers when they're playing them in the United States in the regular season, rather than the regular season that happens to be 2 weeks before the regular season. And then they're going to play. I mean, it's idiotic. It's just stupid. The scheduling has always been a problem with Major League Baseball, and this is just yet another way that they do not understand how to run a schedule.
I disagree, but I also think it's pretty funny that like 3 or 4 of our lovely listeners in the chat have tried to explain the time zone difference here, and I think I'm more confused because I've got 10 hours ahead, 9 hours behind, 16 hours ahead, 15 hours behind. I think you all are right. I'm sure y'all are right, but I'm truly like, it's late and I'm drinking wine. So I'm just like, I trust you all to know the time zones. 1 second.
Right. And there's an international dateline in there, and that's weird too.
Is it yesterday or today? Like, I don't know. It's very hard.
I went to New Zealand once and just lost an entire
Yeah,
date
it's
out
like
of the
what,
calendar.
or did you gain a day, right? Like, because sometimes you do that and you gain a
on
day.
the way there, missed a day completely. That date, December 30th, 1997, never happened for me. I just
Weird.
wasn't there. And then when I came back, I had to relive the same day twice.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, I really do need your help with something, though, because I'm not sure which of these commercials I'm supposed to play. And I think you might know which of these commercials I'm supposed to play, because we need to take a quick break.
You have a lot of faith in me. Okay.
What was that?
Yes, and I took us too long on that. Sorry.
No,
I just had to
you're
rant on that because it drives me nuts.
You're good. We're going to have a quick note, Patreon shout out, and we're going to have some ads from our sponsors in the clutch. And grab a beverage, because we're coming back on the flip side. We have a ton of extra stuff to talk about. The Cubs promotional schedule dropped this week. We're going to talk about our favorite promotions and favorite giveaways and rant about some of the things we hate about that. We're also going to talk about the MLB uniforms, which have finally been improved. But first, some commercials.
Yep. Oh, yes. Okay. We're going to do In the Clutch.
If you like the Cubs a bunch, buy your t-shirts from In the Clutch. We've got all the best styles for you. Dansby, Saya, Morel too. Clark Fly in his double U. Cody Bellinger, smoking dudes. Vintage shirts from days of old. Patrick Wisdom and Nico. You'll look sharp wearing your stro. 10% off with the code SONRANTO. SONRANTO. InTheClutch.com is your store for the most fun baseball shirts on the planet. Don't forget to use promo code SUNRANTO to knock a couple bucks off your purchase. Stack or die, we need more cups. Get it all at In the Clutch. Cause if you like the Cubs a bunch, buy t-shirts from In the Clutch. Get it all at In the Clutch. Get it all at In the Clutch.
The Sunranto Show has hired me, a professional voiceover actor, to tell you why you should become a Sunranto Patreon patron at patreon.com/Sunranto. First of all, it's only $1 a month. And if you can't afford $1, I don't even know that the Sunranto Show wants you as a listener, because you're too poor to even hang out with anyway. Also, as a Patreon member, you get the Sunranto Show ad-free, and the Patreon-only podcast called Cubs Pod, which releases daily during the season with bonus episodes all off-season long. Sunranto Patreon members are also eligible to win a monthly prize, get exclusive Sunranto Discord page privileges, and there are more perks at every level. Plus, 10% of your Patreon support goes to help the Lost Boys Youth Baseball Program as we give back to our community. So what are you waiting for? Spend your hard-earned money on tickets and beer for the Sunranto Show by subscribing at patreon.com/Sunranto. Otherwise, they'll think you're a poor loser. A big, fat, dorky, poverty-stricken loser. Take it from me and by commanding professional voice, and become a Sunranto Patreon supporter right now.
All right. We are back. Please support our show by joining our Patreon. Please support our sponsors by checking out In the Clutch. Those are some great shirts. I always dance to that commercial behind the scene. I'm always like, it's a good commercial.
It really is. We do have to update all of our stuff, though. And I should have said it before we went into the break. Every time you hear Sunranto, you need to substitute Bleacher Bunch. Just make that little switch. I didn't have time, but I almost went in and tried to get the video for that voiceover commercial. And I was just going to, in my own voice, say Bleacher Bunch every single time he said Sunranto. So you'd hear that guy, I'm a professional voice actor and you should support Bleacher Bunch. But I did not have time.
I love it. Well, speaking of things that we did have time for, but we did not figure out, because honestly, Danny, we miss you. Without you, we're lost. We don't know what to do. Michael did an awesome job putting together the script for the Cubs Cast Corral, and I tried to record one, y'all, and it was very bad. So we don't have a Cubs Cast Corral, but there will certainly be a Cubs Cast Corral in the future when Danny is back to recap all of the Cubs shows for you. I will say there's some interesting stuff in the shows that have come out this week, so definitely be sure that you are caught up on all of the Bleacher Bunch Network shows. You will not want to miss what they're talking about over on Cubs PS Plus. You will not want to miss the show that Danny and I put out earlier this week on Cup of Cubby Blue. Be sure that you're following all of the shows on the network. But one of the most important pieces of Cubs news in the offseason dropped this week, and we're going to spend some time on it. Cubs promotional schedule is out. We know what some of these things are. We know the dates that we need to be at Wrigley to get them. And before I show some of our favorite giveaways and we talk this through, Michael, I have a question for you. Why does Wrigley Field, a ballpark that routinely brings in 35 to 40,000 fans, only give away 10,000 giveaways for most gates?
Oh, that has been, Tom Ricketts. I was listening to Kaplan's podcast a few weeks ago, and he was talking about how Tom Ricketts is always upset because people call him cheap. And of course, there are baseball operations reasons you could do that, but you could also just look at their giveaways and say, Tom, you're cheap. Every other ballpark will give away 30,000 of a thing, right? It's like the only ones who don't get the thing are the ones that show up really late, but not Wrigley. Now, and what's amazing about that is those ballparks can't get anybody to come. So they do a bobblehead giveaway and they do 30,000 because they're like, we'll get 30,000 tickets sold that day. Wrigley is always selling 30,000 tickets. Like they sell
now.
When they sell 20. I mean, I know
Jed is trying his best.
Right, but 25,000 seats sold for a game, or not even sold. 25,000 show up for a Cubs game at Wrigley. That's a bad day at Wrigley. Right? Yes. They know this. And yet they, instead of rewarding their fans, they're like, we're just going to make them, what we want is Fight Club. We want 4-hour long lines out in front of the stadium before the game. We want people fighting over things. We want the experience to be the worst possible thing it could be. And if we're lucky, we'll make some YouTube video of like some of our fans falling down the bleachers after a fight.
No, that's exactly right. And what they want is they want you to need to get there 2 hours to 90 minutes before the gate so that you are buying drinks and food and stuff from the second you walk in to the second the first pitch is thrown. And it's honestly, it's just awful. It's an awful experience to have to deal with, frankly. Like I know the games that I want to get the giveaway and I go and I line up early, but truly, if there's a game where I'm like, oh, I need that giveaway, I will never forget in 2018, I believe, was the Wilson Contreras bobblehead giveaway. And I walked into my boss's office. I'd only worked there for like a year and a half at the time. And I was like, I think it was May 13th. It's his birthday. So if it's something like that. I was like, I need May 13th off. And it was like months in advance. And she's like, okay. I was like, it's Wilson Contreras bobblehead day. I have to be at the ballpark by 10 a.m. And she just laughed at me, which is a good sign for my job. But it was truly like, that you have to be there 3 hours before the gate opens to get your giveaway. Right. And it's honestly ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane. And I don't know. I am a person who just can't stand lines of any sort. There's never been a giveaway that would be worth me standing in a line for that long. Like it just doesn't exist. Like that's one of the things that just makes my brain melt is having to stand in a line for something, anything really. I will skip it because I'm not that into anything that I could wait in line for.
I usually have my headphones on. I'm like listening to my podcast and people try to talk to me and I'm like, no, I'm trying to be alone, which is ridiculous in a line full of a few thousand people.
Your cone of silence.
But let's look at some of these giveaways because some of them are great. I'm going to start with what was clearly, in my opinion. I
love looking at the giveways, though.
Well, let's do that. Let's do that right now.
Looking at them.
Yeah, this was my favorite by far and away. This is the Shota bobblehead giveaway, and I don't know if you can see it if you zoom in there, but if you look at the cup in his little locker there, it says Mike on it. Because that's what he tells the baristas for his coffee drink so that he doesn't have to tell them how to spell Shota. And I think it is adorable. I need this Shota bobblehead.
It really is adorable. I completely agree. But it kind of looks like a beer.
They got the cup wrong. Like, how could they not get a coffee cup, right?
How did you not get Starbucks
to
sponsor this thing?
That's a great question.
I mean,
or Dunkin'. He's a Dunkin' guy, I think.
Is he a Dunkin' guy?
Yeah.
Regardless, wherever it is, or how about put like a local shop on there? I don't know, but all Ricketts wants to do is make money, and they just let this thing go. Like you could have completely, even if he doesn't go to Starbucks or Dunkin' or whoever, you could have got somebody who would have been like, oh yeah, let us put our coffee cup on that,
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you
and then maybe you get 20,000 instead of 10.
Well, we should definitely get at least 20,000 of those for sure. Okay, so for those of you who go to the Wrigley giveaway games, you know that there are different types of giveaways and there's different types of rules. So there's like the gate giveaway, which is the 10,000 people. You have to be at the gate. They're going to pass them out. When they're gone, they're gone. There's the bleacher giveaway. So Friday, Budweiser bleachers, there are special giveaways that only go to people in the bleachers. I think these are like 2,500 if I remember correctly. But you also have to be there really early because the bleachers are general admission and the lines are crazy. There are 2 bleacher giveaways back to back that I think are absolutely fire. I will be in the bleachers for these games. The first one is this left field, right field tank situation. I need a left field tank like whoa. What do we think of the left field, right field for the Boston game of all games situation?
Okay, I do like it. Other than the tank, I'm not a tank top guy. Like, and that's not because I don't like them. It's because if you saw me in a tank top, you'd understand. He's not a tank top guy. Look at him with that tank top. He looks terrible. But I do like it. Here's the situation though. How many of these are there?
I don't know. I think there's usually like 2,000, 2,500. I don't think it said, actually. Let me check.
So do you have a choice of which one you get? Or is it?
Well, I think you're going to have to choose left field or right field, but you don't get a choice of sizes or anything because that would be crazy. They only do that on the south side.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing then. Whoever's going on the right field side, if you want this, you can get that one because everybody freaks out about going to left field. It's always got to be left field. I love the right field. Get me one while you're at it. I won't sit in the line, but get me one. Actually, don't give me one. I forgot. It's a tank top. I won't look at it. So, but
it's the first 5,000 fans in the bleachers, and I'm guessing there will be 2,500 of each.
Probably 2,500 of each. Yeah.
And left field, y'all. Left field is the tank to get.
See, and again, yet another way that I differ from I'm a right field guy. I love right field. Always been there.
It's in your face in right field in a way that it's not in left field. And also, I mean, just all my peeps are in left field, except for, well, there's a handful of people who sit in right.
When I go to the games now, I generally do end up sitting in left field because I'm with Danny and the ranters and stuff, and that's where everybody wants to sit. But if I go with my family, I go to the right field. I prefer right field. I like it. It's just a different vibe over there because I don't like being around all the frat boys who are like losing their minds trying to get like home run balls and crap,
That's totally reasonable. All right. So about a week or two later, I don't know the dates on here, it's going to show, but the next Budweiser Bleacher Friday giveaway is, in my opinion, one of my favorite giveaways of the season. Yeah, go ahead.
These Bleacher giveaways, they aren't the special ticket giveaway things, right?
No, these are, you just have to be in the bleachers.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure because I know that there's like they started doing that recently.
Think about this, right? So they have 10,000 for the whole stadium, but the bleacher giveaways are 5,000 just for the bleachers.
Right.
Anyway, I'm just going to leave that math there on its own.
Well, 5,000 is half of 10,000, so I think they're pulling another fast one. They're like, look, we can show that we're having a giveaway, but we're only doing it over here, and we do half, and we pay less money.
Okay, one more bleacher giveaway that I think is pretty fire. Some of y'all are going to get this one right away. This is for the August 1st game against Baltimore. It is the flip up sunglasses, like on Ryan Sandberg's statue, the like homage to the 80s that he did for Day Baseball. I love these. I'm so excited about these. What do we think about the 80s style flip up glasses?
Well, I don't really like the style, but I kind of feel like those were never stylish glasses, even when the guys had them. Like they were purely functional. And do guys wear these anymore? Like I don't.
No, but they're on the Ryan Sandberg statue. Like he's got the shades flipped up, and he's
I remember. Yeah,
that's great.
Well, I remember actually watching, like, that was one of the cool things. Like back in the day, you'd be watching the TV and the ball would go up and you'd see somebody just flip. You'd see him flip the glasses down so that he could look up. And there was just always that quick movement. And then he would have it and look up. And I'm thinking, like, why don't they do that anymore?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
they have lenses that do the lenses just get dark. Yeah. The transitions lenses, I think, are what they're called.
But how many times do you see guys, like, especially in the outfield at Wrigley, who, like, don't know what to do? They go out with their sunglasses and then they put it on their hat and then they put their sunglasses on and then put it on their hat and they're like, they have no idea. Yep. But it's like, you just have your flipper.
Well, and somebody is going to miss a ball in the outfield on August 1st. It's going to be like a super bright day. And a fan is going to be like, do you need sunglasses? It's going to be great.
Yeah. I hope somebody hits a home run and you see somebody in the stands go, flip. You just see him with a flip in there right there. That would be amazing.
Just the flip. Maybe Bleacher Jeff will flip catch in the well.
Oh, those would look good on Bleacher Jeff too, by the way. Those would totally fit his style. I'm with you on that.
I mean, Bleacher Jeff's style is basically just all the giveaways at Wrigley, though. It's like,
you're right. I guess anything they give away, he's going to be wearing.
I say that with love. But yeah, that is the style. That's the whole motif. All right. So you have the gate giveaways, you have the bleacher gate giveaways, and then they have, and this might be the most annoying type of giveaway that the Cubs do. It is the special ticket giveaway. And there's parts of this that are not annoying and parts of it that are. So I'm going to rant for a second. The part of it that's not annoying is if you really want something, like back behind me, you can see the little Dia de los Muertos bobblehead that they did for Hispanic Heritage Month. That's a special ticket giveaway. What that means is I had to buy a ticket through the Hispanic Heritage thing. And then anytime before the 5th inning, I could go out to Gallagher Way and I could get my bobblehead and then I could go to the game. So the nice thing about it is you don't have to line up like Uber hours in advance. You can just go get your ticket, your giveaway and go. The bad thing about it is these tickets are always hella overpriced, like 30 to 40% more than what you would pay on the secondary market, at least, sometimes double what you would pay on the secondary market. And when you go to buy one of these tickets, they will not let you pick your seat. You have to just like take the seat that they give you in the area that you pick. So if you pick, like I happen to know the places that I really like to sit. Like I like to sit in the 200s, below row 7, in the corners so that there's sun. I can't even get that specific with the types of tickets that I'm picking for these giveaways. They always want to put me in like row 17 or something. I'm like, no, I want to be lower because I know where I want to sit. And I hate that you cannot pick your own seat for these ticket giveaways.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And they call it a giveaway, but then they charge more for the ticket. It's not a giveaway. You're
A lot
just
more. You're basically buying the stuff. Yes.
Yeah, you're just buying whatever it is, so yeah, that's annoying. And that's why I was asking about that, those when you were saying the bleacher giveaways, if it was a special bleacher ticket or if it was that. But yeah, these aren't giveaways. Again, they make you think it's a giveaway when it's really you're just purchasing something that maybe you would have bought, maybe not. I don't know.
No, you're totally right. It's just a more expensive ticket and you get this add-on. That said, I think after years, so I think there are 3. This is the 3rd Pride jersey that the Cubs have done. This is in my opinion, best Pride jersey the Cubs have ever put together. This is that's just a gorgeous Pride jersey. It's going to look great when everybody's wearing it in the stands. And that is on June 12th, I believe, if you are so inclined to spend a little extra on a ticket and get a Cubs Pride jersey. What do we think of the Pride jersey giveaway?
Yeah, I like it. I like I just like the banner straight across the front. I don't know. I might not go with the blue sleeves. I think if the whole thing was blue and then the thing, I might like it a little bit better, but it's a good looking jersey. I would wear it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on the sleeves though. And my one beef with the Cubs and their Pride jersey over the last few years is that they have never done a Cubs Pride jersey that is basically like the jersey, but with rainbows and stuff on it, right? Like they don't take their own gear and turn it into a jersey. And if you looked at the Red Sox or the Red Sox Pride jersey last year, they did that, right? Like it was literally just a Red Sox jersey and they did some rainbow stuff. And it was like very much they let their brand be Pride. And the Cubs have never done that. And I find that a little bit disappointing.
Yeah. And I think that looks good too. I think sometimes you see people wearing like there's hats, right? And the C will just be rainbow. Everything is normal, but you look at the C and it's rainbow. And a jersey, the same way. It could just be the normal jersey, but the C is rainbow. And your letters and numbers could have the rainbow on it, but it's all you're just replacing that sort of the red bit of the jersey with that. That would be great.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that it's an excellent looking jersey, though. The crowd is going to look incredible wearing that jersey. And again, that is June 12th. If you're looking to go to Pride Day at Wrigley, and I'm going to do a little editorializing here for 1 second and just say that it's been a rough 3 weeks or whatever of just constant onslaught of nonsense. A lot of it directed at the LGBTQ community and friends of mine, and it sucks and I hate it. And the Cubs are the organization that has the longest running gay night at the ballpark. It was called Out at Wrigley. That was done well before anybody celebrated Pride in June, or before teams were celebrating Pride in June. Like people were celebrating, but the brands weren't, corporations weren't. And for a long time, the Cubs actually held two Pride nights functionally. They had the Pride night in June, and then they had Out at Wrigley in August or September. And part of the reason that they do that is because they're so close to Boys Town here in Chicago. The gay neighborhood in Chicago is like steps away from Wrigley Field. And years ago, the local paper had basically set up a gay night at the ballpark, and they called it Out at Wrigley. And so I was just, there's still at least one Major League Baseball team. It is the Texas Rangers that doesn't host a Pride night at all. And it would have been real easy for this Cubs team to say, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. The political climate is bad for it, and we're just not going to do it. And they did not do that and I, as a Cubs fan, am very appreciative. And didn't want to get all serious, but I felt like that was worth saying.
No, I'm with you. Absolutely. It's like, it makes a difference. Like there's representation matters. And, when we just kind of turn a blind eye. We just don't talk about it. Like people think that like, well, I don't say anything bad about it, so I just don't say anything at all. That's better. Well, I mean, minimally. I mean, it's better than being an asshole, of course. But all you have to do is be like, no, I like actually stand up and say, no, I have no issues with LGBTQ people. You know, this person is my friend. They're out. I'm out with them. Like I'm their friend, all that stuff. And when you're major, I don't know, I guess corporations, you said that a couple times in it. Corporations makes my skin crawl a little bit.
Yeah, I
but
know. I
the
hated
Cubs are a
saying it that way.
corporation. And to have them, you know, show support, especially for a you know, with, like you said, Boys Town is right there. And they've been going to the games forever. And maybe they don't always, you know, maybe people go that are gay and they don't always feel exactly comfortable being as out as they want to be, but at least they're going to get a day that they can go and, you know, maybe plan for it or something and go and enjoy that. You know, it makes a difference. These little things, it's performative, right? But performative can make normative, because the
I
more
like that.
the more you see it, the less it becomes an issue. And so even if some of these teams are doing it for the worst reasons, you know, the money or whatever, at least they're doing it because it will eventually become a thing that everybody just understands and accepts. These are just humans and they happen to like baseball. Like I like baseball. We've got something in common. So,
yeah, it's honestly, I was not able to go to Pride Night last year. A friend of mine picked up my jersey for me. I was out of town, but every year when I go, it's just the coolest environment. It's an awesome. They usually do a really good job of bringing LGBTQ owned businesses into Gallagher Way beforehand, so you can buy stuff from various businesses in the neighborhood and stuff. Anyway, if you're on the fence about going, I cannot recommend it strongly enough. And that jersey is fire. So go get yourself a Pride jersey.
Yep.
One more. This is from look, not all the giveaways are good, y'all. Like some of the giveaways are
I was
absolutely frightening and terrible. And what are we doing with this? Can we just give this man a bobblehead?
The Dansby Swanson Flow headband. It is
what?
It is a wig with a blue Cubs logoed headband that says hefty on the back, because that's where it should go, directly in the garbage. And is this supposed to be Dansby Swanson's hair?
Okay, so a couple of things about that. I think yes. Please, for the love of God, just make a Dansby bobblehead. But two, these are not going to come out like that. These are, if you've ever been to a giveaway, you know they're just in boxes, just like stacked on each other. That hair is going to look awful.
It already looks awful, and that's the best.
It's going to be like flat, and it's going to be flat and matted, and like it's going to have sat in a box that was like in some warehouse for weeks. You don't want to know what like animals crawled across that box during the time it was there, and then people are going to put that on their head on purpose. Absolutely not.
Have you ever gone to a baseball game, and when you got there, you thought, you know, I wish I had bedhead right now. I wish it looked like I literally just woke up from a drunken night out. Oh, Dansby's hair. I'll wear that. It's the same thing.
We've got some good comments in the chat here. Bring your comb. Like truly, you're going to need it though, because you're going to need to comb out the wig thing you're putting on your head after you get to the ballpark. And also, I'm just going to let this one speak for itself. But thank you very much for the laugh.
Leftover Trump hair pieces that were dyed. Tom has to break even.
Oh my God. I can't believe how did that one, who thought that was a good idea? Don't get me wrong. Dansby has great hair, but I don't want to wear it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh God. It's bad. there are a few other. I don't have pictures of them, but so they always do the special. One of the special tickets that people buy, right, are for the hats.
Yeah.
You get a hat. I'm kind of okay with that. Like if you want, and they're the usually Big Ten university hats.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I have 2 of the Notre Dame ones.
Yeah, so Notre Dame is one of them. Okay,
Always.
That
In fact, I'll take a screenshot right now.
Well, one that I have, it's Notre Dame and Michigan. These are the 2 that I have a little bit of an issue with. I have no issue with those 2 schools having hats, and if you want them, go get them. They're fun, right? You have a Cubs hat that's also Corey Furlong got me the Hawkeye one time. I dig it. But here's the deal. When they play the Royals, they're doing the Notre Dame hat. It has gold lettering and dark blue bill. It's the Royals colors. It's basically the Royals colors. So you're giving everybody in this section, it says Cubs, but from a distance, that's just going to look like a whole Royals section. And the same thing on the Michigan one. So if you go out and you look, Michigan has the yellow and blue Michigan colors, and they play Milwaukee. There's a big M on the side of it. Like this, why? I mean, why are you just giving away? You're giving away hats. You could do these for any game. It doesn't matter. Do it when
the Cardinals are in town, and then it won't look bad.
Like, do you think that Royals and Milwaukee fans are going to be like, oh, well, those are my team colors, so I'll buy that hat? No, they don't want this hat. Like, what are they thinking? Like, I just don't understand why you would do the color scheme of the opposing team you're playing that day.
Yeah, I actually have another problem with this hat. And I say this as a proud owner of 2 of the Notre Dame Cubs hats, and I love both of them. One is navy with like a gold Cub C on it, and the other one is green with like the gold shamrock on the side, and then it's got this, it's got a blue C on it. They're great hats. They're very Notre Dame Cubs perfect hats. What is this? The Cubs never wear this hat. This is like a golf hat. This is like a hat you get at a golf shop.
Oh yeah, this is.
What is this? This is not a real hat.
Oh, and I didn't even notice. This is like the 1980s. It's got the cord.
Yeah, what is this?
So between the top of the hat and the bill, it's like a yacht hat. This is total boomer yacht rock.
Yeah, this is. I hate these hats, man, and all of them are the same, just with different cord colors and different base colors and stuff.
I didn't even notice the cord. The cord is a bad look. I don't know. There's some.
We agree, Andy. It's not good. It's not good.
There's some Generation Z person that's like, what are you talking about, man? Cords are in.
You know what that reminds me of?
They were in the 80s. Too.
Yeah, in like every John Hughes movie, how there was like the evil preppy kid.
Oh, yeah.
This is definitely a hat that the evil preppy kid would have worn.
Oh, 100%. You are absolutely right. This would be that hat, and it would be and like you said like a golf hat. Like,
yeah, it's got like a country club vibe, right?
Yeah, it is. It's totally the 1980s sort of golfer's hat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not into this. Not into this. Definitely not paying extra money to get it. Come on now. Okay, we have one more topic before we do some closing business here and like do some announcements and all that jazz. But while we're talking about pieces of the uniform that may or may not be good, it is worth noting that one thing that is being fixed for 2025, because it was honestly just so atrocious in 2024, is the actual uniform. The Cubs were one of the first teams to see the new uniforms because they are the first team at spring training because of the Japan series, which we already covered. But to remind you of what we're fixing here, this is a shot from Christopher Morel hitting a home run in St. Louis last year. That is the Vapor Nike Performance, blah, 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 whatever thing. And look at the sweat. Just like...
Yeah, there's no vapor. There's no vapor there. That is pure condensation.
These people tried to tell all of us that the reason they changed the jersey was because it was a superior wicking material. And they literally gave us this. This is what MLB players and fans were asked to endorse. They charged you $400 for this piece of absolute trash. And so I am pleased to tell everybody that we're back. We are back to the satin numbers, the big letters, the colors. I mean, Dansby Swanson, if you recall last year when he saw the new and improved uniforms, was like, it's not even Cubs blue. And he's right, because those are not the same blue. What do we think of the uniforms going back to good?
Oh, I like how you're, what do you think about the uniforms being good? That was your question. I hate good. Everybody knows I hate good, Sarah.
I don't know. Sometimes you have weird opinions, so I had to be sure.
No, I'm with you. The whole uniform thing last year was terrible. You saw a number of guys rip their pants because they were clearly way too thin.
Well, and there were the pictures. I forget who it was out of Giants camp last year, but they got a picture of somebody like bent over doing like touching his toes or whatever. And I know a lot about that gentleman's anatomy that I didn't need to know.
I mean, what was it? Giambi wouldn't be able to wear his gold thong anymore. There would be none of that.
Oh God. Yeah, the see-through pants are gone, y'all. And the better part is, last year, one of the things they did as an improvement, I hate it. Actually, one of my pet peeves with society right now is they frequently tell you something's an improvement when it very obviously makes things worse. And last year, one of the improvements that Nike and Fanatics tried to sell players on was that it would be better for them to have just 3 sizes of pants to pick from rather than custom fit pants. How is that possibly better if you're a player? Like, some of these guys have different dimensions, right? Like, you got a guy like Alejandro Kirk who's kind of squat. Do you think Kyle Schwarber wears like normal size pants? Like, no, he does not. That man has a badonkadonk. Like, anyway, the players get custom size pants again. The pants should probably not be see-through. The letters are going to be big and colorful and amazing again. And the jerseys are back, y'all. My hiatus of buying jerseys is over.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's like last year, people didn't realize that. Luke Little didn't want to wear the pants to his knees. That was just the only size they had left for him. They said, "No, Luke, you're wearing the shorts. You're wearing shorts because you're 6'8", and we only have Nick Madrigal's old pants for you." So.
Nick Madrigal, Godspeed in Queens, my friend.
Oh God. Yeah, those were all really rough last year. And I'm glad they're going back to look, the whole jersey thing, like you want it to look good. You want the numbers to be separate from like sewn on. That's the whole thing. I mean, all of us had jerseys or the fake jerseys or whatever that were just like ironed on numbers. And we liked them until we saw the real ones. Yeah. And we were always like, we really want those. That's what I want. But.
Yeah, I bought one jersey last year and one jersey only. And it was because after Morel got traded, they took all of his like back stock that had been at like the different stores in the neighborhood. And the guys who were just out on Waveland, out behind the bleachers there, and they're just like, oh, this is on sale, $10 this, whatever. Well, one of the things they had was like a bunch of Morel jerseys that they were selling for half off. They were selling them for $80. And I looked, and they were the old Majestic jerseys. So they aren't even the Nike run. These are like from 2022, right? And I'm like, oh, these are great. This is like the big numbers, and they haven't done anything weird with the logos, and like the stitching is perfect. They're like, it's half off because he's not here anymore. I'm like, yeah, well, I definitely would have paid full price for this good jersey.
Well, and if we know anything about these Cubs, when you send a player away, they might trade for that player in like 4 years.
Yes. Right.
We do that often.
Someday.
So that could come
Once
right.
the Rays develop him, we'll trade for him. We'll trade like Matt Shaw and some spare parts for him.
It'll be great.
This is a Nick Madrigal deep cut, and I appreciate it. Nick Madrigal showed up to Mets training camp with his Cubs training bag. Like, they didn't even get him a new bag yet. He just still had all of his Cubs.
Well, Ricketts made him pay for it. So
yeah, man, he took every penny out of that bag.
He's like, I'm keeping it. All right. Well, before we jump into our next thing, I am going to throw out here real quick. And there's two reasons for this. I'm going to pop it up here. And then when the screen is covered, I'm going to go and let my dog out of this room because she's growling a little bit. She wants
I think this is we're heading to the end. This is our penultimate thing. It's this, and then it's the chance, and then it's the announcements. So
yeah, and this is I did an sort of an ad hoc Cubs silhouette. And I'm gonna pop it up here. This is Who's That Cub? You're gonna have a few seconds to take a look at it. It's a card, so that may give you a little bit of a hint. And here it is.
All right, who's that Cub? And don't forget Chance in the chat while you're guessing who that Cub is. Who is that Cub?
All right, do you have any idea on this?
I don't know.
It's a little goofy because the only picture I could find of this card was a signed card. So I had to erase some of that too. So it looked a little bit goofy.
Oh, I can see where you did that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it looks like a picture. Am I right about that?
Yeah, it's a picture. For some reason, it looks like he's in Arizona.
Yes.
Instead of at Wrigley or whatever. So that'll tell you a little something. So
we've got some guesses in the chat. We've got LaTroy Hawkins as a guess. We've got Lee as a guess.
No, Lee is way too big. Yeah. So, all right.
All right. What do we got?
I think we're ready. I don't think you guys are going to get this.
Telemoko?
It is Pat Mahomes. And yes, that is Patrick Mahomes.
Nice.
Who played 16 games for the Chicago Cubs in 2002. He had 2 starts. He had a 386 ERA, a 1-1 record, struck out 23 in 32 and 2/3 innings. And if you're wondering, yes, I put up Patrick Mahomes because, of course, it was just the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes was playing in that Super Bowl. This is his father. Nice. I had no idea. I am today years old when I found out that Patrick Mahomes, senior. I'm sure everybody knows this, but I just don't pay attention to football that much anymore.
I didn't know this.
I had no idea that Patrick Mahomes Sr. played 1 season for the Cubs. Yeah, amazing.
I had no idea. That's amazing. That's great stuff. That's a deep cut.
That's very deep, yeah. Even Patrick Mahomes doesn't know his father played for the Cubs.
Well, I bet he does, but he doesn't talk about it very often.
Clearly, right? Like, Patrick Mahomes has been in the spotlight, the biggest spotlights ever. You'd figure at some point, like, it would just leak out. Like, how would you not? I don't know. I'm sure. Okay,
no, that's a great find. I can't even believe that. I had no idea.
In the chat, all of you in the chat, let's get a quick straw poll here. How many people knew Patrick Mahomes Sr. was a pitcher for the Chicago Cubs? And I went into like the Wikipedia and crap. I'm like, there's no way this guy's actually related. It's just a funny coincidence. And no, he's the father of. Yeah, where is it? No, I got it. Yeah, this is Patrick Levon Mahomes.
Wow. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last chance for #chance in the chat. And I think Michael's going to have to do some transcribing back through the chat to figure out.
The best part is he has 2 sons, Patrick II. That's what it says. Patrick II, the second,
Patrick
not
II.
Junior. Patrick II, who is a quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Jackson, who is a social media influencer. And that poor second son hates his life. It's just like, God, I'm a social media influencer. My brother has like 3 Super Bowls.
I mean, honestly, are we sure that he could be a social media influencer if his brother hadn't won 3 Super Bowls?
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a really weak sauce. They're
like if you're a social media influencer and one of your immediate family members and or spouse is super famous, I don't really think that counts as a career. That just means you got lucky and you're tagging along.
I might edit myself out of my father's Wikipedia page if that's what I was looking at.
It's like it would have been better for you to be like a teacher, a fireman, a police, anything else. Anything else other than I just kind of hang out and try to gain influence.
He spends a lot of his time volunteering. Nobody cares what Jackson does. Like, there's nothing. He's not going to come out on top against Patrick Mahomes II.
Alrighty, well, I am going to do some announcements here, and while I'm doing the announcements, you're going to figure out this chant situation.
I'm ready to go, I think.
Awesome. Okay, well, let me do some announcements really quick. Thank you all for joining us tonight. This was super fun. Thank you, Michael, for being here. A couple of things that people should know. Ronnie Woo Woo is in rehab. We're sending get well cards and lottery tickets. He loved the scratch cards, people. I don't know if you saw it on social media, but our friend Crawley had some shots of Ronnie Woo Woo with all of the love that y'all are sending him. And, he's just been an institution around the Cubs for a really long time. He loves this team and this fan base as much as anyone. Send him some love. Take a minute out of your day, write a note, help somebody have a little bit of a smile when they're having a bad time. On a brighter note, Danny and the Bleacher Bunch Band are planning a post-game opening day show at Output Wrigleyville. That is on Clark Street, just up the street from Wrigley Field. So that'll be the post-game Bleacher Bunch concert at Output Wrigleyville. Make sure you're at Output Wrigleyville, not some other output.
And it's the real opening day and not while the Cubs are in Japan for some unknown reason.
Yeah. Well, okay. Cubs opening day at Wrigley. And y'all can argue with Michael about whether the Japan series was good or bad.
Bring it on. I'm going to get so much hate.
Hey, Andy, is that for like the next Monday that's coming up? Like Monday the 17th? Like the President's Day holiday? Andy Wells tells us that Monday is his birthday. So happy early birthday, Andy. And hopefully you have a great day. Lucky having the day off on your birthday. That's always a nice situation. Well, and then
hopefully he has the day off.
Right. Yeah. I hope you have the day off. Yes. A lot of us have the day off. I hope you do too. David Elliott's birthday will be celebrated in South Bend with, I'm imagining, the South Bend Cubs on April 26th. So if you want to head down to South Bend on April 26th, and watch some minor league baseball, celebrate David Elliott, who is wishing Andy a happy birthday as we talk about his birthday. That is so great.
Yep, it's David Elliott's. It's David Elliott's 40th birthday, so they're having a big celebration of life, is what we call it. Oh wait, that's not what you call it, right? That's for people who die.
Turning 40.
So yeah, big 40th birthday. If you want to go down there. I'm doing everything I can to get down there. I haven't actually been to a South Bend game. David Elliott says it's April 27th.
I'm going to fix the notes so we don't make
on a Sunday, not April 26th. So April 27th, a Sunday, and he has the owner suite reserved. So we get to go party like we own a thing.
We party like rock stars.
Yeah.
We can party like Jackson Mahomes.
Right. We'll act like we are somebody when we aren't. We're just near somebody who is doing something good.
David got the suite, and we're just gonna be there with our phones doing, acting like we're cool.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Special shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, especially Blake Beard and Rogue Wave Creative, and our sponsors, In the Clutch, who you saw their awesome ad earlier, Matt Cammers, Permanent Paintings. We're so grateful for all the support and the support of everyone who shows up for this show. Honestly, on a personal note, it has been bleak, and this has been a lovely 2 hours, and I just get so much strength from talking Cubs with this community, and I am grateful for each and every one of you. And before I cry, I'm going to turn things over to Michael to run our chants, and you will get a Frank Chance postcard sent to you from the Steve Goodman post office, where all Bleacher Bunch postcards are sent from. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week, Thursday night. Spagog. Do we still Spagog?
No, we don't. We're still trying to figure that out, but we're not done yet. We'll do that here in just a second. I'm going to share this. And by the way, Sarah, back at you. 100%. Like, I was seriously, today, most days are rough anymore, but getting a chance to sit on here and chat with you, and watch your completely shocked and horrified face when you found out how much I hate the Japan series. It just makes it all worth it. I'm
just glad Infield Fly Girl didn't have to see it.
All right. Well, here we're gonna spin this. I've got everybody in there, and if I can figure out how to spin it. Oh, click to spin. Duh.
Woot.
All right, here it goes. Who's going to win it this time? We've got...
Oh, it's close.
Joey W.
Joey W.
There you go. Oh, I'm going to keep that over there. Oh, and then I'm going to quit sharing here.
All right.
But yeah, congratulations, Joey. Man, I thought it was going to be Alex.
I did too. I really thought it was kind of playing with us there.
Yeah.
Joey, I'm assuming there's a way for Joey to get us his address so that we can get Joey the postcard, or do we already have Joey's address? I have never done the chance thing, so this is all new to me.
Joey has won before, and he does Danny's videos for TikTok and all that.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, we all.
You're on it.
I'm pretty sure that's the same Joey.
There's nothing I have to do to make that postcard thing happen. Y'all are on it.
All right, so we had a special request for the end of the show. No, you remember, one time we were talking about, should it be Danny, or Sure Dan, or some of those.
Yeah.
Keep bunching. I don't know. Bleach yourself. I don't know what to do at the end of the shows anymore, because we don't have amazing things like this.
Spookog, or Go Cubs backwards.
Classic.
Oh, it's so good. Just for you, little Yumper. Just for you.
Yep. So thanks to everybody who showed up to hang out with Sarah and me today. And you know what? Pitchers and catchers just reported. So, of course, we're going to go out with Danny's parody of the sweater song, Pitchers and Catchers.
Hey, Danny, how was your winter, man? It sucked. How about them Cubs? What an offseason. Freaking Theo, man. Yeah, totally. Oh, man. You want a beer? All right. This season's gonna be the best, with Hayward and Zobrist and Lackey, plus last year's dudes. We can't lose. That's what they're saying. Oh, man, it's gonna be the best. I'm so stoked. Take it easy, bruh. I need palm trees, Cub fans, the sands. Oh, damn, I am freaking freezing. It is time for pitchers and catchers. We're so close to opening day.
Hey, what's up?
Not much.
Do you think they'll trade Solaire?
I don't know.
I think they'll probably get a picture for him, but maybe wait till the trade deadline.
Hello, Rizzo. I'm gone. Bye-bye. Goodbye. A flight. Too much. Gonna drive. It is time for pitchers and catchers. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're so close to opening day. To opening day. In Arizona, watching Cubs baseball. Drinking lots of beer. Drinking lots of beer. Out in the sun. It is time for pitchers and catchers. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're so close to opening day. To opening day. In Arizona, watching Cubs baseball. Drinking lots of beer. Drinking lots of beer. Out in the sun. It is time for pitchers and catchers. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're so close to opening day. To opening day. In Arizona, watching Cubs baseball. Drinking lots of beer. Drinking lots of beer. Out in the sun.